Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4311-350-603 single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube bearing, steel base, zinc plated. So this is a single acting spring hinge. Let's dissect the part number. First of all, LB stands for the lube bearing or maintenance-free type bearing construction, proprietary to Bommer. That's their lube bearing sort of construction. Okay. The 4311, now that specifically means that it is a full mortise hinge, but it also means that it is a template pattern on the screw holes with a 1/4 inch radius. So 4311 conspires to be full mortise. You can see that when the leaves are brought parallel, or when the door is closed, the leaves are meant to be mortised to the edge of the door and frame. Means template pattern on the screw holes, and there's a link below this video to the template which shows everything important dimensionally about those holes, and I recommend that you review that just so that you can determine it's correct. It also gives other important dimensions, which we'll cover some of it. Speaking of screw holes, screws are included in a complementary finish. Okay. It also means 1/4 inch radius, which is very typical for residential doors. The -350 means that it's 3.5 inches tall and 3.5 inches wide. Now the height comes first on a hinge like this, and while this is 3.5, 3.5, it doesn't so much matter. Keeps you out of trouble if you have a 5 by 4.5 or some rectangular shaped hinge. Height goes first. The 603 means that it is a zinc plated steel base hinge, and zinc is used because of its corrosion resistance. Even though it's steel base, zinc will get you down the road a good piece about before the hinge will start to tarnish on you because of zinc plating's inherent ability to resist corrosion. It also all means, the 4311 means that this is a residential hinge, meaning that the leaf thickness is 96 thousandths of an inch, which is very typical for residential doors. And the fact that you've got a 3.5 inch hinge tells me they're 1 3/8 doors most likely, or something in that area, which would mean a thinner gauge leaf. You can also get this in a contract grade with square corners. It'd be a LB4311-C, I believe that part number is. This is available in several different finishes, also available in 4-inch size as well. It's a spring hinge. So setting the tension on the spring hinge, there is a link below this video to installation instructions, should you need that, help with that. They're also printed on the back of the box that you'll probably get, but let's go over that now. So first of all, let's define some parts. You're going to get a bag with a tension rod in it. You're also going to get a tension pin, that little steel pin that just fell below there. Now the tension rod, and I'll just poke it out of the bag a bit. When the hinge is installed, and it's not handed, you can use it for a left hand or for a right hand door. When the hinge is installed, put the tension collar up. And when you do that, when you insert the tension rod into one of the pins and turn it clockwise. So we're going to start that over. So the setting of the tension is done. You're going to get that tension rod and the tension pin I've already showed you. I've stuck the tension rod out a little bit. The tension pin is still in there. It's that little silver thing. Tension rod, the long black thing. Tension collar up when you install it, non-handed. Insert it into one of the holes that are here. Rotate it clockwise. If you've got it upside down, rotate it counterclockwise. It's the same direction. So when you rotate it clockwise, you can see that I reveal additional holes there. It's into one of those new holes that you insert the tension pin. It's that simple. Bommer recommends that you don't exceed 3 holes, okay, from a standard non-set position. Now also there is a guide below this video to how many hinges you ought use based on the size of the door, weight of the door. No door bigger than 3 foot by 7 foot. It's not engineered for that. If you're dealing with a 70-pound door or thereabouts, 2 hinges. 90, 3 hinges. Now that guide certainly works, and I'm a fan of doing what the manufacturer says. However, in practical experience of setting and getting doors to actually close, I'm a advocate of all spring hinges. Now here's why. The spring is a situation where if you're underpowered with how many spring hinges you have, in order to get the door moving fast enough through the closing cycle, you have to turn that tension up real high just to get the door with enough inertia to reach the end of the closing cycle. But at that point, you've had to overcome all that air resistance, plus the friction of the latch bolt making contact with the strike plate. Very little stored energy is in there when the hinge is basically closed. I have found when you've got 2 when you should have 1, or 3 when you should have 2, you'll have enough reserve stored energy in the springs so that when you get down to the critical point, that it will not only overcome the friction of the latch bolt and close, but latch without slamming. Slamming is bad. You might have change of seasons affects hydraulic closers. Air pressures affect hydraulic closers. You might have doors or windows open in the summer when you wouldn't in the winter, causing air to just come through there and slam it. More spring hinges give you a better ability to try to tailor the opening without it being uncontrollable or not working. And if you're using a spring hinge, it's possible the door is fire rated. And if it is, well, it wouldn't be if you're using an 1 3/8 door. But if it is a fire rated door, the door not only has to close to be code compliant, but it has to latch. And if it doesn't do that, then the installation has failed. The last thing I'd like to point out is the Bommer logo. Right above it, it says Made in USA. The fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I, to be a distributor of theirs. Any questions on the Bommer number LB4311-350-603 single acting zinc plated 3.5 spring hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.